trade war. Plus, breaking news, President Trump with a message for Iran as satellite images show the U.S. is ramping up its military presence across the region. Is a military strike imminent? And best-selling author and wellness guru Deepak Chopra's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. CNN sifting through hundreds of messages between the two. Let's go out front. Good evening, I'm Brianna Keeler in for Aaron Burnett. Out front tonight, Trump lashes out at the Supreme Court after they handed him a major ruling his signature policy is unconstitutional. The 6-3 decision with 3 conservative justices ruling against him. Chief Justice John Roberts, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett joining the liberal justices in rejecting what has been Trump's most powerful tool to punish other countries. For months, he's used tariffs as leverage and threats against other nations. Today's decision left Trump fuming.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing and ashamed of certain members of the court. Absolutely ashamed. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. I think that this is a restoration. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
But Trump not about to concede defeat. Instead, he tried to spin today's loss as a win.
The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, Chris Robley said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways. They're immediately instituting a 10% provision, which they're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we're taking more money than we're taking in before.
Now Trump's Plan B, which he just signed in the Oval Office, allows him to reimpose sweeping tariffs, but only temporarily. After 150 days, Congress will have to extend the tariffs, and that seems highly unlikely. But Trump insisting rules don't apply to him.
They have no right to do it too. That's what we want to do. But we're going to charge it starting effectively, I think it's 3 days from now.
Kristen Holmes is out from live from the north lawn of the White House. And Kristen, a level of anger that we don't often see from President Trump.
Yeah, Brad, particularly in his second term, and he came out there and it was almost visceral how angry he was. He said he should be ashamed of himself, the judges who had ruled against his tariffs. And as you heard him when he played this sound, saying that it was an embarrassment to their families. Now, clearly he was taking this incredibly personally, and clearly he believes that these justices he appointed to the Supreme Court, particularly Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch, who had ruled against his tariffs, should have owed him something, should have voted in favor of him because of this, saying, again, that he was ashamed of them. Now, there are obvious options here that President Trump has. We know that he just moments ago signed a 10% global tariff to put into place around using a different tariff law. They're going to be workaround various tariff laws, which he announced there, but that doesn't take away the fact that President Trump uses as a personal blow to him. Remember, he brought this up in terms of the foreign policy. He's used all these tariffs for leverage. It's also a key part of his economic policy. They've been relying on this revenue from these tariffs. In particular, they were going to be relying on the revenue from the tariffs to pay and offset some of these enormous tax hikes that were in the big, beautiful bill that he signed off on. There are a lot of questions about what's going to happen next in terms of the money that has already been collected, some of it already being used. President Trump and his entire team believe it's going to be tied up in litigation. We actually just heard from one administration official who said they believe it's going to be in the courts for years, and it's the court's duty to help fix this because they didn't write about it in their decision. But yeah, again, this is a level of ire that President Trump has really largely not put forward this term, and goes to show you just how critical these tariffs are to him, and now how much more he's going to have to work to try and get them to be instituted and deal with these refunds and potential backlash on them.
Yeah, a lot to
Pinatay ko na.
follow.
Patay na.
Kristen Holmes, thank you so much. Everyone is here with me now. Ryan Goodman, how concerning is it first off just to see the president attacking the Supreme Court like this?
I think it's very disturbing and unfair. It's disturbing in the sense that he's coming out unpatriotic and disloyal, and that is a signal to people in this country in which we're sitting in a political environment in which there are death threats against the justices and the judges across the country. I don't think these justices were cowards, but it also might mean that it's sending signals to real patriots. And the reason I say it's unfair, this is a 6-member majority, and the judges below in the lower courts were almost uniformly the same way as the outcome today. There's one dissent in the lower courts below, but this is basically the way that most lawyers in the conservative legal community saw that the outcomes writing on the wall. This is how they would decide this opinion because the law really did not give them the basis for these tariffs.
And David, from the vice president also bashing the justices in the majority, saying, quote, this is lawlessness from the court, plain and simple. After Trump's extraordinary review earlier today, which, let's face it,
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. They're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats that want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. I think that